The season opener at Silverstone sees a return to speed for the Audi team this year, with a win for Marcel Fassler, André Lotterer and Benoit Trellier in car number 7, ahead of the Porsche of Davidson, Buemi and Nakajima. In LMP2, victory goes to car number 26, the Ligier Nissan of Roman Rusinov, Julian Canal and Sam Bird. In GTE Pro, the Ferrari of Gian-Maria Bruni and Tony Villander take the win from the Porsche of Lietz and Christensen. And in GTE AM, it's the Aston Martin of Paul Dalla Lana, Pedro Lamy and Matthias Lauda. Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium is the practice run for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, with a number of cars running in full Le Mans configuration. In a race marked by a bad accident in practice for Nakajima in the number 1 Toyota, Spa saw a confirmation of the strength of the Audis, but also an affirmation of the rising performance levels of the Porsche 919 Hybrid. And car 7 again crosses the line first, with Fassler, Lotterer and Trellier aboard. Within second and third places, the two Porsches, number 18 and 17. In LMP2, Jota Sport takes the win with Dolan, Evans and Ticknell at the wheel. In GTE Pro, it's the Aston Martin with Alex McDowell, Fernando Rees and Richie Stanaway. GTE AM sees the dream team of Lamy, Dalla Lana and Lauda crossing the line first again. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is not only the highlight of the season in the FIA WEC, it's the undisputed greatest endurance race on the planet, and this year the race would again live up to the legend. Having worked hard in the latter part of the previous season and building up even stronger in the start of the year, Porsche demonstrate in qualifying that they're now the ones to beat. But as we know, anything can happen at Le Mans, and it does. In an as-ever action-packed race, it's the great return of Porsche in LMP1, much to the fans' delight. And the winning streak of Audi is broken as Porsche cross the line 1 and 2 in cars 19 and 17. Nico Hülkenberg, Earl Bamber and Nick Tandy win the 2015 24 Hours of Le Mans. And the first Audi is only in third place on the podium. In LMP2, the KCMG Oreca Nissan of Matthew Hausen, Richard Bradley and Nicolas Lapierre win Le Mans in a hard-fought race. In GTE Pro, Corvette Racing takes a surprise win with car number 64 driven by Oliver Gavin, Tommy Milner and Jordan Taylor. And in GTE AM, it's another surprise as SMP Racing car 72 driven by Victor Shaitar, Andrea Bertolini and Alexei Basov take the checkered flag. And as the WEC cars take to the track at the German Eifel region for the first time, the rest of the season remains wide open.
Of the events to be held in Europe this season, and appropriate enough it was Porsche and Audi at the front of the field. Toyota on row number 3 have their performance centre and their racing team just about an hour and a half away at Cologne. Predictably, those 3 factory teams battled it out very hard at the start of the race. The big story early on, championship leaders and current world championship winners, the 51 AF Corsa car with issues that put it to the back of the field. Also a problem for Neil Yarney's 18 car. The Porsche stretched out a huge lead, but had been burning too much fuel, and over the course of the race would be into the pits 3 times for a 5-second, 30-second and then a 1-minute stop and go that overall cost it around about 3 minutes within the race. The charge back through the field would be epic. Difficulties on the warm surface, traction at a premium for all of the leaders, and indeed the organisers deciding to put out a full course yellow to sweep up some of the debris. As the 18 car faltered with its fuel problems and Romain Dumas couldn't find his way to his pit, the Audis number 7 and 8 moved up through the field to take second and third spot. Pierre Caffer surviving a nasty incident when the wing fell off his CLM. And then the incident between the 92 and the 71, Porsche versus Ferrari. Fred McAvicki driving into the back of the Ferrari under full course yellow. The Vidal chicane was an action area all the way through the 6 hours. The Alpine going round there and bringing out some more clean-up. The full course yellow allowed everyone to pit and set themselves up for a run to the flag. What ensued was an epic run back from the 18 crew. Ben Trellier, though not quite ready to give up second place at this time. The 7 Audi fighting hard, less grip but more determination from the Frenchman, held on to second position at least for the time being. The good news for him was he had help coming from behind. Luca Di Grassi in the second of the Audis, charging up to the back of the Porsche. And once there, the Brazilian decided to make a quick move and give his teammate a tail end Charlie, so that he and his teammate could pull away. Teams back timing towards the end of the race. The last pit stops would be crucial, and Audis were slightly too long. That allowed the 18 car of Mark Lieb to get back up into second place. In the categories, GT AM was won by SMP Racing's Ferrari, winning the amateur class. In Pro, it was Porsche number 91, and in LMP2, it was the 47 team. Brings the circus to town in Austin, Texas. Jim Hall of Chaparral fame flagging off the field, led by 2 Porsches, 2 Audis and 2 Toyotas, then the 2 Rebellions. Mark Webber around the outside of Neil Jarney right at the first corner. The 17 crew picked to pole position by their teammates and not too happy about that. Webber stamping their authority on the race early on. And the world champion number 1 Toyota splitting up the 2 Audis on the first lap as well. Spotted by Alan McNish down in the pit lane. Aggressive driving, but all fair on the wide open spaces of the Circuit of the Americas. The 3.4-mile circuit, a perfect playground for these high-tech, high-speed, thoroughbred racing cars. And in the GT categories, Porsches behind Aston Martins early on, but the Astons would fade. It would become a Porsche benefit. Ed Brown losing his brakes coming down to the final corner, hitting the inside curb, somehow managing to keep the car pretty much on the ground. The Tequila Patron ESM car in the wall, damaged and out the race. Good news that Ed was fine. Full course caution, that brought out no safety cars through the 6 hours, but plenty of side-by-side action in GTE AM. Porsche and Ferrari battling all day. Mike Conway getting a shock, trying to pass 2 of those GTE AM cars through turn 10, tipped into a spin from which he recovered masterfully. He wouldn't be quite so lucky later on. Again, GT cars ahead, coming out of turn 11. On the right-hand side, Michelin's on the curb, lost traction, and hit the Armco hard. That would be the end of the evening for the number 2 car.
Course yellow.
Toyota team seeing the bad news of the car coming back in component parts on the flatbed. Then drama for the 17 car, which had led for pretty much all of the race. A 1-minute stop and go penalty for an infringement after Mark Webber as well had missed his pit box. The 18 car in the lead, then into the pit box with issues. In GTE and SMP Racing. Interesting race, starting behind the safety car with the weather too bad for a full grid rolling start. Although Andrea Lotterer and his teammate Marcel Fessler, who was in the 7 Audi, wanted to get things underway and made their feelings known to the cameras and the race control. As the green flag, or the green lights came on, it was the 2 Porsches from the front row, led by Mark Webber, the pole sitter. That 1.4, the 17 crew moved them within 9 points of the leading Audi number 7 before the race got underway. Halfway around the first lap, Mark Webber made an uncharacteristic mistake going off just after the Coca-Cola curve, and, well, Audi was there to pounce as Marcel Fessler went through past Romain Dumas, and that was even worse news to come for Porsche as the second Audi, the number 8, and both of the Toyotas went through, so it was Audi, Toyota, Toyota at the end of an action-packed first lap. It was very close further back down the field as everyone was trying to make up positions. Alex Wirtz and Romain Dumas coming together in the Toyota and the Porsche respectively. The GTE battle was awesome as ever. Two Ferraris battling for the lead. Stuart Hall taking his opportunity to slip the Aston Martin through and pass them both and take the lead at that stage. The middle part of the race belonged to some fantastic driving from Mark Webber and Marcel Fessler. Fessler in the Audi refused to give up his position. The spot on the timing screen changing time and time again, and the two drivers showing supreme confidence not only in their machines and themselves but also the cars that they were passing. The LMP2 battle was fast and furious too. The two cars at the very head of the field, KCMG, the 47 blue and silver car, and the G-Drive getting together several times, with first Roman Rusinov attacking the 47 car. And then coming down into the braking area for the Dunlop curve, Rusinov made his move but misjudged it. That brought out a full course yellow. Rusinov was able to get his pit stop done. Even the Porsche drivers thinking that was an interesting manoeuvre. Then the team car, Gustavo Jacobin, battling for a position, but at that point a lap down on the 47, getting in where he didn't need to be. Also further up the field, as the 7 Audi was trying to get its lap back, there was contact. Then Jacobin took out the 47 car in a pointless display of petulance that put the 47 car out of the championship lead and allowed his teammate to take the lead. Meantime, proper racing in GTE saw Porsche grab back a position right at the end. Patrick Dempsey and his team took their first victory, but in GTE Pro, it was the 51 defending champions who took the victory. A return to form for Jimmy Bruni and AF Corsa teammate Tony Vielander. But at the head of the field, there was never any doubt it would be Porsche. It just was going to be which one. And at the end, the 18 car had a small problem, allowing Timo Bernhard and the 17 crew to come through for their second consecutive conditions and behind the safety car. And once they were released, after 16 minutes, the two Porsches from the front row immediately went into battle with each other. Mark leap down the inside of Brendan Hartley. Watch out for the #1 defending world champion Toyota, splitting the two Audis earlier on. The 7 car had already got ahead of the 8 by turn number 2. Little hip check from the 1 to the number 8 as that pass was made. It was clear that the 18 car was having a little bit of trouble on that first lap, and he tried to let his teammate go through in the early part of the lap. As the number 8 Audi went back into 4th position, the number 7 was looking for something a little more, and there was contact between the Audi and the Porsche, leaving the Porsche at the back of the field after they'd all gone through. In LMP2, the drama started early as well. On the first lap, Nick Tandy going out backwards into the gravel trap. The Porsche factory driver in the KCMG car, the 47, a championship contending vehicle. Then the conditions took over, and no matter whether you were a prototype, a GT car, a Pro or an AM, things got very difficult indeed. Tyre choice, absolutely critical. And even with the right tyres on, it wasn't always easy to stay on the black stuff, as the Rebellion and 1 or 2 others found out. Even the local favourite, Kaz Nakajima, went for a wild ride at the end of the lap and ended up in the gravel trap. As the rain continued to fall, the battle between the two German marques certainly heated up at the front of the field. Audi's playing a very, very aggressive tactical game on tyres. The 7 car still in with a chance of the Drivers' Championship, although it looked as though the Manufacturers' Championship was going away and to their German rivals. The pace of the 2 cars at the head of the field was remarkable. Even in the bad conditions, 300 kilometers an hour down the 1.4 kilometer back straight. Audi and Porsche closely matched in very challenging conditions at Shanghai. Plenty of drama with back markers as well, because the 4 classes on track at the same time always provide interesting competition. But it was all won and lost in the pit lane. Audi went to the Michelin Intermediates early and also were the first to go to slick tyres. And that looked like it was going to pay off when Porsche, who stayed on the wet tyres longer, started to have issues with grip. Right at the end of the race, the Stracker and the 12 Rebellion finding things just a little bit too difficult, and the race almost having to finish under a full course yellow, but not quite. As far as the winner's concerned, the championship kept alive in GT and with the 83 Porsche winning, the 83 Ferrari winning, the 91 won in GT Pro. A maiden victory this year for Signatech Alpine in LMP2, and at the head of the field, it's another victory for the 17 squad. Mark Webber anchoring home Brendan Hartley and Timo Bernhard to make it 4 in a row for the 17, and they increase their lead in the Drivers' World Championship. Porsche win the manufacturers. The final dramas of the FIA World Endurance Championship for 2015 played out in the desert in Bahrain, Sakhir and the Bahrain International Circuit. And from the moment the lights went out, we were already seeing what the whole 6 hours were going to have in store for us, with Marcel Fesler trying a cheeky move down the inside, got into second for a moment, but Romain Dumas making sure he did what teammates should do and protect the championship leading car. It was an untidy start in LMP2 that saw Tom Dillman in the Alpine get pushed down from pole to 4th position. Audi's not quite having the pace of Porsche at the start, at least not the number 7 car, which really needed to win this one to keep the pressure on for the Drivers' Championship. So through went the number 8 and immediately closed in on Dumas and made the pass for 2nd position. Then it was a question of getting up the road and trying to catch Timo Bernhard. It's Ferrari versus Porsche in the GT Manufacturers' Championship stakes. And from almost the very start, as soon as the Porsche went through, they held the upper hand. Then drama for the championship leading 17, down to 3rd position with a throttle problem, 8.5 minutes lost in the pits, 4 laps down on the leaders. The Audis imperious in the lead till the number 8 car had an issue with the left front brake disc that put that car in the pits for 15 minutes. Various full course yellows for mainly damage to the circuit or debris. Bollards being replaced. Drivers and teams making quick decisions to make full course yellow pit stops. Audi managed to hold on to the lead by doing that with the 7 car, but a slight fumble on the restart saw the 18 Porsche go back through. That was not the end of the story though, as Audi found some pace that we haven't really seen since Silverstone and Spa, and battled with the Stuttgart firm right the way through the first half of the race. Again, small mistakes had big consequences, and when the 18 car got through into the lead, Neil Yarney made the best of it and pulled away. The Moran number 43, Morgan, went around after a problem with their rear brakes. That was another full course yellow. This time that played into the hands of Porsche. They needed a pit stop. Audi had to follow them in, and then it was going to be a battle to the end of the race. In LMP2, G-Drive 26 and KCMG 47 have been the main protagonists all season. It was no different here in Bahrain at the final race of the season, as the lead changed time and time again and came down to a sprint to the finish between Sam Bird and Nick Tandy, the 2 pro drivers. But there was more drama in store at the front of the field, as Mark Webber had a recurrence of the throttle problem and then lost the front hybrid. It was going to be a very tense last hour of the race, as the engine cut out not once but twice on the championship leading car. In LM GTE AM, it was a return to form for Aston Martin that saw their 98 car win in category. In Pro, it was Fred McAvicky who brought home the 92 Porsche, a win for them and the Manufacturers' Championship for Porsche, with teammate in the 91 Richard Leeds taking the Drivers' Championship. A win at the head of the field was a brilliant end to the season for G-Drive, who take LMP2. And at the head of the field, it was the 18 Porsche that won, but 5th place for the 17 was enough to ensure the Porsche added the Drivers' World Championship to the Manufacturers' World Championship that they won earlier on in the season. Mark Webber never more delighted to come home 5th in his racing career.